Right then guys, welcome back to another video. Part 3 of the TUFO Files. Hope you guys are enjoying them so far. I know I am. Fascinating accounts from 50 years ago. Two shout outs to give guys. One to my good friend Graham. He let me know that in his previous job, if you get the right weather conditions and the right lighting from underneath helicopter, it can look like it has a halo. If you get the right type of moisture in the air and, like I say, the right weather conditions, that can look like a halo. So that could potentially explain what one of the sightings was before, of the four sisters in the cornfield, who were, not the cornfield, sorry, who were looking for who were scrumping for apples. But as Graham said, if it was a helicopter, there would be a sound. But for future cases, guys, that's an important one to know. So thanks, Graham. And a good friend I need to shout out is Jen, who commented 2 points really important. One, back in the 50s and 60s, people were worried about being typecast as crazy. So, like Jen said, to have this amount of sightings is incredible, and to be able to push back against a narrative back then. And also, the second point that Jen had was when I said about I didn't know how they could gauge how fast things were in the sky. Jen correctly pointed out that people who had been in the Air Force and ex-fighter pilots were taught to gauge how fast things are moving in the sky. So moving forward, guys, if there's anyone who is an Air Force pilot or a pilot in general, I will highlight those moving forward to give a bit more clarity on how they would know how big the craft was, how fast it was moving in the sky. So today, guys, we've got stuff from all over the world. I've got Scotland, I've got Birmingham, I've got Channel Islands, New Zealand, Cuba. So from all around the world today, guys. Like the other ones have been, they'll probably go forward in the same vein because there's that many reports from all over the world. So first one, guys, is from Birmingham. So this is from the 16th of May, 1958. Birmingham, England, pink pencil in the sky. Two ladies in Birmingham reported seeing an object from their respective homes on the 16th of May 1958. Mrs. Mary Smith of Scotland Green, Birmingham, noticed it about 8:45 p.m. through her bedroom window. It was large and pencil-shaped, sharp in appearance, and coloured a rose pink with a surrounding haze. It was perpendicular at first, but slowly lost height and became horizontal. Then it hovered. Mrs. Alice Pladen of Sparkbrook, Birmingham, noticed it from her ground floor window at about 8:50 p.m. and described it as large and pencil-shaped, coloured between rose and pink. It came down very slowly. Her son Michael watched it through his bedroom window, used binoculars, and said, as it went behind the chimney pots, it stopped for about a minute, then it levelled off and went straight across. Sketches by these witnesses were very similar to each other. Unfortunately, guys, I don't have the sketches. They weren't included in the report. Another fascinating one, guys, in terms of two different women in two different areas of Birmingham, pretty much experiencing the exact same sighting, same colour, same shape, pretty much the same time as each other. This again, guys, goes into in my view, I know they've said it's a pink pencil in the sky, but it falls into the cigar-shaped UFOs that you'll hear me talk about pretty much constantly over the course of the TUFO Files videos. Like I say, in everyone's psyche, that was one of the UFOs of the day. It was either a flying saucer or a cigar-shaped one. They're predominantly the two main shapes. So like I said before, guys, whether that was the aircraft of the day from people visiting from different planets, or whether there's an element of military craft mix in there, who knows? That's all enjoyment of looking through these cases. So the next one, guys, from Bognor, Sussex in England, 31st of August. Elongated egg over Bognor. So Mrs. Cox of Chale Close, Gosport, Hampshire, was on holiday at Bognor caravan site, Sussex, England. It was about 9:30 p.m. on August 31st, 1958, when Mrs. Cox and two other members of her family saw for a period of about 7 minutes an elongated egg-shaped object in the sky, blinking on and off for brief intervals on a steady course. The object was a bright yellow and stood out against the stars. It was a very clear night with all the stars and shining. There was no sound of any engine. Mrs. Cox made the point that the light from the object was so bright that if it had belonged to an aircraft, then the engine would have been heard. It was not a Sputnik or a rocket, as these were not visible at this time. The object was travelling from northeast to southwest. The sighting was investigated by FSR's area investigator, Mr. E.H.S. Sears. One thing I always find interesting, guys, about these cases is the amount of time that people get to experience them for. So the lady and two members of family here saw it for 7 minutes. The story before, that was 5 minutes. You know, we had one, the last video I did, I think they got to witness the flying saucer for an hour. In the modern day, we never seem to get anything that long. It's always a streak across the sky, or you see it for maybe 2-3 seconds, and you try to take in as much information as you can. There's a lot of stories back then of them being seen for 7 minutes up to an hour, which is crazy if you think how much what we would give today to spend an hour looking at a flying saucer or UFO to try and get as much information as possible. And I wonder what the reason for that is. Let me know down below in the comment section. Why do you think back then the sightings were a lot longer? Is it because the military weren't that interested back then, or the military weren't? Is there a case of the military didn't have the capabilities to deal with them, so they stuck around for longer? Obviously now we're a lot more advanced, so did they not stick around for that reason? Is it the case of there were military back then and they wanted to gauge people's perception of UFOs, so they hung around longer for people to get a better look at them? Now we've moved on 60 years and a lot of perception of UFOs changes. That why they don't spend that much time with us anymore? Maybe that's why they're fleeting. Let me know your theories down below, guys. So this one, guys, from Broken Hill, Australia, April 1960. 20 strange objects sighted near Broken Hill. One of the members of the Australian Flying Saucer Research Society passed on a report from her son, who was working on a pastoral station near Broken Hill, and who reports that whilst working with the manager, a very experienced man in such areas, they observed about 20 large objects in the sky, whirling and crisscrossing each other and making all sorts of manoeuvres. At first, her son, new to the area, thought that they were large birds. They watched them for a considerable time, but the manager was very firm that they were definitely not birds. He had seen too many of them not to be able to recognise them as such. So, like we said on the two previous cases, guys, they said here they watched them for a considerable amount of time. I don't think you get cases like that anymore, especially in the modern day, especially since, what would you say, since 2010s. I don't think there's any cases where you get to watch a UFO for an hour. And so that's another thing, guys, when people say, is it a flock of birds? Is it this? Is it that? Like that gentleman there who worked on the farm, you're used to seeing flocks of birds, how they move. You get used to your surroundings and you get used to seeing things and being able to identify things. The fact that gentleman definitely knew that they weren't birds adds a bit more validity to the report, for me anyway. And I love ones like this where it's 20, where you're looking at double digits of aircraft. It's fascinating. A lot like the ones that we spoke about in previous cases where it was motherships and you see 7 discs fly in and out. The big number, like the high volume of UFOs in one area, I always found interesting. Why were they there? Who were there? Were they working as part of a team? Loads of unanswered questions, guys, but let me know what you think. So this one, guys, is just a little... So in the TUFO files, guys, there was a lot of, or there is a lot, sorry, of reports about natural disasters, so earthquakes, volcanoes, some tsunamis, things like that. Now, to be fair to the guys who ran the TUFO files, or the TUFO Society, they're in there, but there's no context to them, so they're not implying or asserting that they think natural disasters were caused by UFOs or extraterrestrials or anything like that, but they're included in there. Unfortunately, with none of them being allowed for me to talk to, I don't know what the relevance is of them. And I don't want to put words in their mouth and say that's what they're implying. So for that reason, guys, I haven't included them. There's nothing in there UFO-wise anyway. You know, there's nothing that a volcano exploded and there was UFO seen. There's nothing like that. It pretty much just is reports from newspapers about earthquakes and volcanoes and the such. But this one, guys, I just found interesting, so I included it. So this is from the 5th of March, 1959. Fireball over Channel Islands. Meteorological experts in Jersey have been unable to explain the cause of a brilliant light followed by an object like a ball of fire, which flashed across the island sky at 1:36 a.m. yesterday. Two BEA engineers, Mr. A. Denley and Mr. D. Pinell, saw it. We were startled and shocked, they said. They said they saw the low cloud layer suddenly lit by a greenish-blue light. A fluorescent ball shot out of the cloud and disappeared in a southwesterly direction. Mr. L.G. Cameron, senior meteorological officer at Jersey Airport, said, judging by the facts, I would suggest that this could hardly have been an ordinary meteor. So that was just, I'm not saying that's a crash UFO, by the way, guys. That was just an interesting one with someone from the Meteorological Society added his 2 pennies that it wouldn't have been an ordinary meteor. So that was just a little fun one that I found interesting, so I thought I'd include it for you. So this one, guys, is, you can see a little bit on the screen there, is handwritten account, the one the TUFO guys took. So this is from the 21st of July, 1959, from Guantanamo Bay in Cuba. Now, we all know what Guantanamo Bay is infamous for now. But the title is, Did a UFO Land in Cuba? So, Charles V. Dillon, a chief petty officer from Great Lakes Naval Training Center, had an experience in 1959 which may point to a landing of a UFO. Dillon, 36, an 18-year veteran, made public his experience for the first time at a meeting of Norman Jack Maynard's group in the Great Lakes. He said he was in charge of a watch at Guantanamo Bay on July 21st, 1959, when he and his men observed an orange goat on a hillside. He said they approached close enough to observe 2 large orange things like eyes, but he advised his men to go no closer. I investigated it myself the next day. He said there were no hoof marks or any other tracing of animals on the ground whatsoever, but the grass was all bent down like something slid over it, right down the slope into the ocean. It was like if you take a huge dustpan about 7 feet wide and just slid it into the ocean. Dillon said his impression, subjectively speaking, was that the ground impression was caused by UFO. It came from somewhere else. So as far as I'm concerned, what I don't know, the universe is very large. I believe it came from another world. So there you go, guys. Did a UFO land in Cuba? So I suppose with that one, guys, what did a UFO land? I suppose we'll never know. Were the two amber lights that they saw, were there lights from a craft, or were there lights from an animal, from a cryptid? And could that, so we do know there's a lot now, isn't there, about underwater UFOs, USOs, I think they're called. There's a lot of emphasis put on them now, and that's where I think where a lot of people think UFOs, I don't want to say live or hide, but that's where the UFOs are. So is this a case of the UFO came out of the water, slid up the slope, was watching the military base and then slid back? Or is it a case of, was it a cryptid of some type that slid up, and it's those 2 amber things were eyes that the military guy saw? Either way, whichever answer it would have been, I'll be happy with, because I'm either getting UFO or cryptid. Again, guys, I find interesting that somebody from the military, especially an 18-year veteran, is willing to go on record and say this is what he believes it is. I don't know what what the reception would have been back in 1959. But if current pilots and current military people are being told not to speak about it and they get ridiculed, I'm inclined to believe it would have been the same back then. So to have the conviction to come out and say it, to me anyway, shows that he believes what he saw, and he believes in the story he's telling. Right, guys, I don't really know where to put this one. Incredible story, incredible encounter. Let me know below where you would file it. So this one is from the Ghru Pass, Scottish Highlands. So it says, abominable, and can never say that word, snowman seen in Scotland. So Sir Hugh Rees-Rankin and his wife, Lady Robina, said today they met an abominable snowman in the Scottish Highlands of all places. They said he had big feet, wore a sort of nightshirt, was quite tall and spoke in a strange dialect. On second thought, the British nobleman said he wasn't abominable at all, really, because he had such a benign countenance. Also, there wasn't any snow on the ground. The bearded Rankin said he and his wife were tramping in the Highlands some years ago when they met the snowman. Really a nice guy in the Lairig Pass. They didn't explain why they waited until now to describe their meeting. I am probably the only woman to have met one, Lady Robina said. I came upon him while I was carrying my bicycle over rocky ground during a touring holiday. Suddenly, she said, I felt a presence near me. I turned and there he was, about 5 yards away. She said he was 6'3" tall with long hair, massive features and great feet, and dressed in a flowing white garment. He spoke in an Indian dialect, which I did not know. Sir Hugh, who is 59 to his wife's 40, confided that I tried Urdu on him, which I picked up during my army service in India, but it was no use. The Rankins said they didn't get to know the snowman very well. The stranger walked behind them for 10 minutes, then as suddenly as he appeared, he vanished to the sound of strange noises in the air. So that one, guys, had my brain doing backflips. I don't know whether to class it as cryptid. Is it UFO? Is it just high strangeness? It sounds, on the outset, some of the features sound like a Bigfoot or a snowman or a Yeti, but I've never had a story of one who wore a white robe or a white shirt. It's also interesting that they were from nobility back then, which I'm very surprised that anyone who was a nobleman back then would come out and admit to this story, which is another point for why he gets a bit of credence from me. Number two, he obviously served in India in the army, the British Army, so he was a veteran. So there's another element of where it just starts to creep up maybe on the scale of being more believable. And the last bit, guys, as suddenly as he appeared, he vanished to the sound of strange noise in the air. So was he picked up by an aircraft? I'm not saying it's UFO, but was he picked up by some type of aircraft? Was that UFO? Was it military? Who knows? But for me, guys, this is personally the strangest one that I've come across so far in the TUFO Files. I don't know what to make of it whatsoever. I could have included it in the cryptid files, really, guys, to be honest with you. But it was just that strange, and it kind of flirted between a couple of different genres. That's why I include it in today. So let me know what you think of that one. Be interested to know. So this one, guys, is from New Zealand, and this is about creatures or beings in a saucer, which is interesting. So July 22nd, Mrs. Frederick Morland of Old Renwick Road, Blenheim, went to milk the cows on July 13th at 5:30 a.m. when she noticed a greenish glow in the clouds. Then she saw, in her own words, a saucer-shaped glow with two indented green lights in the bottom. The air became very warm. 2 rows of jets around the middle shot out of orange-coloured flames. They appeared to revolve in opposite directions. The thing was about 20 to 30 feet in diameter. It hovered at about rooftop height. The jets stopped and a light was switched on in what appeared to be a glass dome or roof which glowed. The bottom appeared to be of a greyish metal colour. There was a faint hum in the air as it hovered. Where am I, guys? There were two men in it dressed in fairly close-fitting suits of shiny material. The only thing I can think of to describe it is aluminium foil. Opaque helmets rose from their shoulders. I could not see their faces. One of the men stood up and put two hands in front of him as if leaning over to look downwards. He then sat down, and after a minute or two, the jet started off again, and tilting slightly at first, the thing shot up vertically at great speed and disappeared in the clouds. When it did this, it made a soft but high-pitched sound. Mrs. Morland later told the police and an Air Force representative of her experience, but did not meet with the incredulity she had feared. The jets which Miss Morland mentions cannot have been those of any conventional craft, for she describes the noise as that of a humming, soft, though high-pitched. It is interesting to compare this account with the incident over from Papua New Guinea that was reported. So, yeah, guys, so that one. A couple of points, guys. First off, classic saucer sighting that was prevalent back in the 50s and 60s. That's what was in everyone's mind. Two, an Air Force representative came out to take the report, the sighting. I always find it interesting when people from the Air Force or from the military take the time to go out and see the witness. They must think that there's some credibility in it, or there's something worth investigating there, which again leads to more on the side of it being a more genuine encounter. Seeing the two beings, or the two aliens, the two people potentially in the craft is an incredible part of the story. From what they're wearing, the aluminium foil suits, to the opaque helmets, one of them standing up and looking down over. That to me just sound like maybe that little piece of it sounds to me like it could have been, say, military, and there were humans in there, but who knows? I wasn't there. But when you always hear, guys, about these things flying off at incredible speeds, and the G-force that it would take on your body would be incredible. Which is why I've always said for vehicles to be able to move at that speed and to take those types of G-force, there must be technology in there to negate it. Because you can see, if you get up to I think it's 10 Gs in a fighter jet, or as a fighter pilot, they'll start going unconscious because of the G-force. Now, if these things are able to do tenfold what a fighter jet can be, then it's fair to assume that the G-force in these craft is tenfold of what a human could be through. So another incredible sighting, guys. There does seem to be a lot from New Zealand and Australia, so it does seem to be on that side of the world, at least in the 50s and 60s so far. There is a lot of encounters with UFOs, aliens, that type of thing. Right then, guys, that is it for today's TUFO Files. Hope you enjoyed it. Like I say, so many more videos to come. So at the minute, guys, I've got videos scheduled for every day for the next week, pretty much. So I've got one coming out Thursday, one coming out Friday. I'll get all these edited and I'll have them scheduled for the weekend and next week, because I'm going on holiday next week. But I'm ramping up the recording to get a video out every day for you to tide me over until I get back, and then I can get back to the library, dive more on the files, go through more of the journals and the sightings and the recordings, and get more videos out for you guys. Intertwined with the TUFO Files, guys, I will be doing videos on my own experiences, because I know that's what a lot of people are interested in, what I've experienced during my military career, what I experienced in childhood, and then through my life, and then through later on, up until today. So thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate all the support, and everybody who comments, I try to respond personally to them, because I appreciate all the support that you've shown me so far. So yeah, guys, I will see you on the next video.